Well, then. Oh, I'm sorry. I won't jiggle. Jiggle.
Everything's okay. Smile. Oh no.
That's what you did to us.
Too funny.
Looking good. Thanks for eating sandwiches, okay? Because if you leave me with 90 Hy-Vee sandwiches, somebody's going to pay.
Very good, thank you.
I'm pretty tough.
Thank you.
Can't figure out their vibe. Like, are they going to fit well? What do we think?
Testing.
Always up the down staircase. Oh, I've had some nuts. They're very nice. I personally like pistachios. How about you? Whoever that is. Host of the show. In the wheelchair.
I don't
know. You know? I can't hear you with everybody. You're talking so low.
I don't know.
Well, who does know? Everybody knows them.
Hello. Welcome to Voices. And thank you so much for coming. I'm waiting for a couple of people. Come on. My job is to introduce. In 1961, I think it was 1961, my father purchased a house out in the country. At the time, it seemed kind of remote. And his friend, a good friend at the time, was Chuck Murphy, whose father, by the way, was a United States Senator from Dubuque. Chuck Murphy said to my dad, "Don't raise your family out there in the country. They will turn out to be socially awkward, aloof, and introverted." Well, I would like you to meet my sister, Kate. I'm going to dispense with the bona fides and credentials. I'll just say this, that Katie's had a good, strong career pretending to be other people. I give you Kate Mulgrew.
Thank you, Sambo. Is this mic working? Yeah? Okay, Sambo, where are you going? What about our deal? I told you I'd give you $20 if you introduced me as your favorite sister. But you wussed out because you got other sisters and your days are numbered, right? I am delighted to be here. I had to be here. This is my home, and I think we're all of us, meaning the entire country and the world, in a little bit of trouble. So I had to my house in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, Abby Finkenauer, the divine Abby Finkenauer. And her wonderful husband, Dan DeWaska, who you will recognize because he's so handsome standing back there. And I said, "What can I do?" And Abby said, "You have to meet Lindsay James and come to Iowa." And I said, don't say another word about it. I'm on the first flight. Well, of course, there is no airport in Dubuque. So I parachuted in. And I thought, as I floated down, my God, this is a beautiful state. These quilted fields, these verdant fields, everything so manicured, so meticulous, so gorgeous. This is my state, and I love it. And I felt, as I've always felt when I come home, that surge of nostalgia, of sentimentality. Only this time, something else clicked in. Something has to be done. So, I met a woman, and she said, I'm going to take you to some farms. So we spent the day tramping around farms in northeast Iowa. I think it was Charles City and Old Wine. One of the farmers was a Zen Buddhist. He was a biologist, and he was a genius. The other was a woman. She was raising sheep and cattle. And they were both so innovative and so entrepreneurial. I thought, these guys are just amazing. This is what the future of farming is going to look like in Iowa, right? It's not just the farmers. It's the decency of the people and the intelligence of the people. I've always said this about Iowa. You guys are smart and deeply fine, right? I live in New York, so I know the difference. When I come home, I am reminded about goodness. And I am reminded about character. So today, I did what I do best. I've been a professional actress for 50 years, and I am in the business of studying human nature. And so I studied today a certain woman who sat by my side, who stood by my side, who tramped through fields and over electric wires. Although it was really fun when that farmer said, can I carry you? I said, good offer, I'm going to see you tomorrow. And I just watched her. I just watched her. Because it's very important that I understand exactly what we're getting into here. This seat is a crucial seat. If she doesn't take Dubuque, it's a problem, right? So she has to take this city. So I'm watching her with the eye of a Dubuquer, the hawk eye of a Dubuquer, and here's what I saw. Somebody said upstairs, oh, isn't she a ray of sunshine? I said, who are you talking about? That broad is a bolt of lightning. She is fearless. She is fearless. She is honest. She is funny. She is fine. She has 2 children and a husband as of now. And what I really drilled into her was, can you make this sacrifice? Your boy is 12. Your girl is 19, correct? Can you do this? And what about your marriage? And she turned to me. She has extraordinarily beautiful blue eyes. And she said, I have to. You do know when you have to do stuff. Because I had to do Captain Jamie. And that wasn't easy, guys, right? They were all standing there staring at me saying, she's just never going to make it. She'll never get the men. There will never be a female captain of a starship. And I went to them and I said, why didn't you just stop judging me and let me command? And the men will come to my command. This woman will command. She will stand up. She will stand up for the agriculture of Iowa, for the farmers of Iowa, for the good people of Iowa, for the backbone of Iowa. Without Iowa, we don't have a heart. They talk about the heartland. This is the heartland of this country. And we need to stand up again, you guys. I don't know why we're slouching a little bit. We need to stand up the way she stands. She's a pastor, so this doesn't work anymore. And her love of God has taken her a long way. But her love of people and of this state and of the inherent beauty and excellence of this state assures me that Lindsay James will be the next congresswoman of the 2nd district of this state. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a statement beginning of Lindsay James.
I feel extremely honored and very humbled by that response. Okay,
Can you hear me? Oh, I'm getting some thumbs up.
Way to
Okay.
go.
Oh, Jean is working on a mic for me, but I am a mom, and I do have a mom voice. Sometimes somebody's gonna hear. In fact, I like to use that mom voice a lot in the Iowa legislature. So, but I am so honored. I called my brother. I grew up watching Star Trek Voyager, and I called my brother. Now, how many of us have a family member? Okay, let's see if this works. Oh. Okay, so I grew up watching Star Trek. How many of us have a family member who maybe thinks a little differently than we do about politics? Yeah? Yeah, okay. Pretty much everyone. I should say, who knows or loves someone who thinks a little differently about politics? All of us, right? And I have a brother, he's 18 months older than I am, and he has some different opinions than myself about politics. And I sent him a picture of Kate Mulgrew. And I said, look at who I get to spend 2 days with. And my brother said to me, he was like, well, yeah, that's pretty damn cool. And then he went on to say, I guess there's no one quite like Captain Janeway to bring us all together. So it's a beautiful honor to spend the day. Now, I also have to say that this is such a beautiful moment for me because I have spent the last 7 years in the Iowa legislature knocking on your doors. And I actually have a callus on my knuckle from like rapping on all of the big, historic home doors, right, that are all throughout, because we are where Iowa started, Dubuque, yes, and we have some of the oldest housing stock in the state because of that, which means that we've got these big, beautiful, historic homes, and a lot of them have broken doorbells. So when I got elected, I was like, dang, maybe my first piece of policy should be funding some extra doorbells for my people. Okay, we had some more important things to do than doorbells, but that was definitely on my mind because of all of those many doors. So in my first election, I knocked 10,000 and have knocked thousands and thousands of doors for the last 7 years. And I wanted to just tell you a story because I think that this story shapes the importance of this race and this moment. So I'm out knocking on doors, and it's my first campaign, and I see, you get a list of names. I've got my campaign t-shirt on and my pamphlets, and I'm bright-eyed and I'm gonna go change the world. And I've got an incredible reception because it's Iowa and we knock on doors in Iowa, right? Retail politics, it's what we're good at and known for, among many other things. And I'm knocking on doors and I see this guy and I say, oh, he's the next guy on my list. So bright-eyed, and here I go, and I start walking up to him and I'm like, hi, here I come, He takes one look at me and I see him, he's coming out of his minivan, he had just pulled into his driveway, he's coming out, and he's got a couple kids with him, all in soccer uniforms. So he had been out either refereeing and coaching this soccer team, and so I thought, perfect timing, right? I'm catching him as they get home, I'm gonna go say hi. So I wave, and the reception that I got was not what I expected. So I waved and I said, hi, I'm Lindsay, and I'm walking up to him and he puts his hand right out in front of me. And he says, no, no, no. If you're a Democrat, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And I said, okay, yep, I get it, right? I'm in your space, you're tired, you're coming off the fields. But I handed him my business card and I said, if I become your state representative and you ever need anything, I want to help. This is my cell phone, just call me. And then I said, well, and you can also just call me if you want to set me straight. And he kind of giggled at that, right? Kind of laughed, kind of smirked, and you could see kind of the defensive walls come down, and he said, well, since you're here right now, let me set you straight right now. And so I engaged in a really meaningful conversation with him about the realities of his everyday life. He told me stories about working 2 jobs. He was in the manufacturing industry, and he talked about never really feeling like he could get ahead. And then he went on to tell me, but things got really hard when I had kids. And I said, okay, well, tell me what you mean by that. And he started talking about all of the challenges of, working so hard, paycheck to paycheck, working as a dad even harder than he ever had before. and always feeling like he was falling behind. And so I said to him, well, tell me, what does financial security look like for you? Because I was curious, what does that look like for you? And this is what he said, and it'll never leave me. He said, Lindsay, financial security for me looks like being able to afford Happy Joe's Pizza twice a year for my kids' birthdays. That was the dream. That was the dream. Now, many of you know my background. I'm an ordained Presbyterian pastor. I've also served as a chaplain for the bulk of my career. And chaplains are trained to listen, right? That's what we're trained to do. But it's not just to listen to hear. It's listening to understand. And what I came away from that conversation with was this man he could never build the life that he knew his kids truly deserved. That he could never come through in the way that he thought his kids needed him to come through for. Too many challenges, too many barriers, too many hardships, too many paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. I heard over thousands and thousands of doors this very story, just a different iteration. A gentleman knocking doors in Table Mound Mobile Home Park. When I talked to him about his realities, he said this to me. He said, Lindsay, I'm having to make the choice. Do I pay for my rent and keep my mobile home? Or do I pay for my insulin and keep my foot? That is an actual conversation that I had with one of our neighbors. Impossible choices. People in Iowa are making impossible choices because of their economic realities, right? It's the mom who's saying, do I choose paying my Alliant energy bill, or do I buy my daughter a winter coat? It's the dad who's saying, do I pay rent, or do I put food on the table, right? It's the farmer who's facing volatile ag markets, who's gambling every time with his crops and wondering, concerned and terrified, will this be a drought year? Will this be a flood? Can I make it? People making impossible choices. Now, so fast forward, I hear all these stories, and then I go to the Iowa legislature, right? And here I am again, bright-eyed, I'm gonna go change the world, right? The Pollyanna, right? Oh, let's go do this. And the first day in the Iowa legislature, I'm getting whisked around the rotunda. How many of you have been in the rotunda in the legislature? Yes, I love it. This is such a great group. I love you all so much. Especially because right when I start to miss Dubuque during the legislative session and longing, you all show up for Dubuque night, and I'm like, oh, you brought home to me. Thank you. I love you guys so much. But I'm here at the Capitol, and I'm wandering around, and I'm getting introduced to the lobbyist for the big pharmaceutical company, the lobbyist for the big insurance company, the lobbyist for this big corporation and that big corporation, and I'm looking around and I'm saying, well, who's the lobbyist? Who are the advocates for everyday Iowans? For everyday people, like my constituents who are making impossible choices in their lives. And then I had a very deepening sense of call in that moment. And I thought to myself, I know how to answer that question. The answer to that question is me. But the answer to that question is also you. And it's all of us together. Now, I don't know if you have noticed, but this is a deeply polarizing time. We are seeing an uptick in political violence, in hate speech, and it's not just in the political public sphere anymore, right? It's in our families, it's in our neighborhoods, it's at our Thanksgiving table, right? And part of what I wanted to share with you tonight is that the reason why I ended up studying theology was I lost a friend in 9/11, and I don't share this story too often, but I wanted to share it with you tonight because I think it speaks to this moment. So I lost my friend she was a friend of mine in college, and she was coming back and flying on Flight United 93. That's the one that went down in Pittsburgh. And I got an email from the college president, explaining what had happened, and we were all in such incredible shock. And I scroll down through the email and I see her name. And I realized, oh my God, that's my friend. She and I worked at an after-school program helping kindergartners learn how to read. And so that's how I got to know this incredible woman who lost lost her life on that day. And in that moment, I thought to myself, I don't understand why organized religion makes claims about peace and yet engages in such incredible acts of violence. And I want to understand that. Which then sent me on a journey, right? A faith journey around bringing people together across difference for the sake of doing what is good and right and just. And I saw my call in that moment as, this would be, I would get to be in an interreligious sphere, and it would be, how do we stop throwing bombs at each other, right? I would do that work. And then in 2016, when I started to see all of the political polarization so front and center, my daughter, 6 years old at the time, and we had purchased this White House Lego. And we were going to build the Lego on the day that we had our first female president. And we were going to do that. She was 6 years old at the time. That morning, when we were going to get up and build that Lego, instead of building the Lego, I found myself stumbling my way through a very painful conversation with my daughter. And she said to me, she asked me a question after she had absorbed it. She said, "Mom, does this mean we have to build a wall?" And I thought to myself, regardless of how one feels about immigration policy, right? I think we all can agree there are so many walls between us, right? There's so many barriers already between people thriving, right? And maybe, just maybe, my skill as a chaplain, bringing people together across difference to do what is good and right and just for everyone could translate into the political sphere. And that was the moment where I had another, deepening sense of call and thought, when a seat like this opens, I'm jumping in. Now, when my husband and I talked about this race, it was always wrestling out. Gosh, I love these two kids, so much. And nobody loves Washington, D.C., right? Right? And why would we want to go there? And I started wrestling, and my husband started wrestling, and, we had these incredible conversations, and then he looked at me and he said, "Lindsay," he said, "we don't know what elections are going to even look like after 2026. We are so polarized. We are so at each other, right? We are losing our democracy and the foundation in which our country has stood." And I thought to myself, yep, there it goes again. Another deepening sense of call, right? That I believe that every single person who is able should do more in this moment, right? We have to fight for our communities and our neighbors, right? We have to make sure that we have strong public schools, right? That we have, does anyone agree with that in here? Strong public schools, right? We have to fight for rural health care. I will tell you that this big, beautiful bill, which I will tell you is only beautiful for billionaires, is, right, just 27,000 people in just this second congressional district are at risk of losing their health care. Not to mention the fact that we are #1 in the country for rising cancer rates. Does that sound like a good idea? No, right? We have got to have people who are speaking loud, naming the realities of what we're facing in this country, in this state. We are 49th in the economy. We are 48th in personal income growth, and we are #1, as I just said, in rising cancer rates. But here's the thing, I know who we are in Dubuque. We are Dubuquers. And it is true that whenever I'm at the Capitol, everybody looks at Dubuque and says, all the other legislators, "Oh, well, you come from the state of Dubuque." And I'm always like, yeah, because Dubuque is where Iowa started. Don't you forget it. Des Moines, don't you forget it. There is something incredible about this community and these people, like our people. These are our neighbors. Just look around this room, right? The resilience in this room. I remember when my husband was interviewing at the University of Dubuque, and I got invited to come and just look around the city as we were in this interview. And I remember thinking to myself, I went through the Millwork District, and I remember thinking to myself, this is a community that believes in itself so much that they invest in itself. And then I learned, right, that tools for economic development actually help our communities invest in themselves. and that there are policies that we can do to support those efforts. There are policies that we can put into place to support strong public schools. There are policies that we can put into place to make sure that people have affordable and accessible health care. We just need people who have the courage of conviction and the heart and the fire and the passion to go tell the truth in Washington, D.C., because what is happening right now is that the powerful people are looking the other way and walking by. And I say, no more. And so let me tell you this. I am deeply grateful. I want to tell you though, I look around this room and you are my neighbors, you are my family, you are my community, and I know that not all of you are registered politically how I am registered. I know that because your registration is public information. I know, that's pretty tricky, isn't it? But I wanted to say this. I wanted to say this race is not about Democrat or Republican. This moment is not about, quote, winning for the sake of winning. I believe that this is a moral moment, and that what we do in this very moment will take us and set the state of our country on a trajectory over the next 10 years. I try as a person of faith to live my life by the parable of the Good Samaritan, right? When there was someone on the side of the road who is hurting and the powerful people are walking by and looking the other way, it's my faith that compels me to lend a helping hand. That's an Iowa value. It's not just my faith value. And it takes real strength and courage of conviction to lead that way. Everyone I talk to is exhausted by politics. And they're ready for people with heart and vision and courage of conviction to do the right thing. Because this race, it is not about Democrat or Republican. Let me tell you who this race is about. The day after I announced my campaign running for US Congress, the Dubuque Advertiser showed up on my front porch. How many of you have gotten the Dubuque Advertiser? Yes? Many of us, all of us. But this time that Dubuque Advertiser was different. Scrolled on the front of the page in big black marker was, "You have my vote." And I thought to myself, again, this race isn't about Democrat or Republican. This race is about the man who delivers the Dubuque Advertiser. This race is about the teacher who is using her own salary to pay for classroom supplies. It's the family who is struggling with a child who may be now at risk of losing health care because they have a disability, right? This is what this race is about. It's about our neighbors, and it's about recognizing the human dignity in one another, and I know we can get back there. And I hope that you support me and that we do that, not just me, but together. So thank you for your time. Thank you. Now let me tell you one other thing. One of the things is I don't want to do this alone, right? Because I don't believe that this is about me. This is about all of us. And so this is what I would love to do, is go on this journey with you. Please sign up to volunteer. There's a sign-in sheet where you can leave me your email, or if you hate emails because you get 1,000 a day. How many of you get those? Yep, okay, yeah. And then I will text you volunteer opportunities, or I will pick up the phone as a human and just call, human to human. But sign up and volunteer and be a part of it. If you have means, throw some money in an envelope up here. That helps me get the message out and bring people together. We cannot do this alone. There's so many ways to make our voices known collectively together, and I hope that you join me in a very intentional way going forward. So thank you again. Thank you. And thank you to Kate Mulgrew, hero to us all. Enjoy some more food and good beverages and encourage company and have a good night.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Sam. We cannot
Fantastic.
Thank you.